So I'm really thrilled to recognize Jackson Tavel, Edgemont High School senior. He's an amazing student, an amazing future leader in our country, and he set up a free landscaping service for the elderly this summer. And he's also participated in our Snow Angels program and is just doing an amazing, a fantastic job. We really appreciate what you're doing, and maybe you could give us an update of the successes of the Landscape Angels program.
Hi, my name is Jackson. And like Mr. Feiner said, I am a senior at Edgemont Junior Senior High School, and I would like to thank you all for having me here and listening to what a fantastic program it has been.
Can you just speak in the microphone so we can hear you?
Yes, ma'am.
There you go.
Is this better?
Yes.
Sorry. I would like to show off some before and after photos that I've taken in some of the projects that have happened over the past few months. I would also like to give a background information about what the Landscaping Angels are and a little bit about the overall Greenburgh Angels. So the Greenburgh Angels help out many people in multiple programs and find many volunteers who are helping or who are willing to help out anyone in need. And my two areas of focus are in the landscaping and Snow Angels aspects. Over the past few years, I have been a Snow Angel. I started in 2018, and if you'd be so kind to scroll all the way down to the bottom, I would like to show off the first ever photo I have of a project that my family and I did. If you don't mind, all the way to the bottom. Thank you. So, as you can see, it was a pretty short few pictures. I didn't anticipate that I would ever need to look back at these photos, and I never planned on any sort of remembrance of all this volunteering that I've done over the past few years. And so the purpose of the work I was doing was never to remember it. So I don't have too many photos. However, I do have a few good and meaningful photos. This one, all the way at the bottom, is, like I said, from the first time I ever participated in the Snow Angels, and we wanted to commemorate it. And so if you would click on the right side of the photo, you can look at another photo we had showing the front part. When we first got there, I remember feeling a little nervous, thinking that this was not going to be able to get all done in one day. However, with a little bit of sweat equity, we were able to finish it in, I believe, 45 minutes and 53 seconds. I have it timed. And that photo means a lot to me. If we go up, in the next ever photo that we took while being a Snow Angel, we have just a silly photo of my sisters and I on top of a pile of snow that we generated while shoveling another driveway. And the main purpose of the Snow Angels, I should preface, is to grant easy access to the houses of seniors and individuals in need, should anyone need to reach them for whatever reason. And that is the goal I tell every single volunteer, and that is the goal of every single project we do. If you don't mind scrolling up, you can go past the snow photos and going to the first ever landscaping project I partook in. So, like I said before, I do not have too many photos of the projects I have done, but I have completed 9 landscaping projects, some of which have been alone, some of which I've had assistance from volunteers. At first, getting off the ground was kind of tough. I had no volunteers and 37 seniors who signed up for the program. And so the first 5 or so were done by myself and with any help I can get around the house with my sisters. At the time, all I had was a weed whacker, and the resident of this house wanted me to mow their lawn. As you can imagine, that was a little bit of a hefty task for a weed whacker, and it ate up 2 batteries. But that is, it is not a big yard. However, if you go to the next photo, you can see a change. Sorry, just click on the right side of the photo, if you don't mind. You can see the after photo. And I'm happy to say that I have gone back to their house since, and with a lawnmower, and I'm going to be offering my assistance again. Should I go back? If we go up, I will showcase the first house that I ever did with volunteers from my high school. In the beginning of the year, September, I started a club with my school principal and have since gained 44 volunteers. And I have partaken in a project every weekend with 1 or 2 volunteers, and this was the biggest one I've ever taken on. If you look at this first photo, this is a little after the beginning, but just beyond that bush that you see, there is a path leading to an AC unit that the residents of the house had disclosed to me broken over the pandemic, and we're hoping to restart it. So if you would click the button, you can see progress that was made. I cleared out a bush that they wanted gone. And then if you would go to the next photo, you see just over time the work that went into it. This project took 2 hours and 41 minutes. If you keep going, you'll see these are bushes at the side of the driveway that I had some volunteers help me take the vines that were strangling off. Keep going. Would you mind going to the next one? Thank you. These are the 2 volunteers that were gracious enough to help me out. And then just 2 more times. This is the foretold path leading down to, if you go to the next photo, the AC unit. And the AC unit was overgrown with vines, which I cut down, and they said that they were going to have somebody to fix it in the short weeks after, which they've updated me and said it's working again. And so I was very happy to hear that. If you would go up, this is actually a continuation of the same project, but the other side of the house. This path leads to a little sitting area that they had told me before the pandemic they held any friends or family that wanted to come and have a chat with them. So if you would keep going, you would see that all of these, I took away branches that were covering the path and made it easier to walk on, rearranging some stones and cutting down some weeds there. And then if you go to the next photo, you see the area which they would hold guests. Then the next one shows the after of the work I did. So I raked the area, I cut back all the vines, and I'm happy to say that they were happy with that. And the final thing I did for this house, I said it was a big project and it took a long while. I'm happy to have the volunteers I did, was create a path to their basement, which was on the other side of the house, which I now done a 360 around the house, creating a path. And so I'm happy that they now have access to the extra space that they told me they haven't been able to get to in 4 years, so predating the pandemic beginning. So this is the before of the area that they used to walk down. And if you would go to the next one, that is the after. There was piles of dirt all over the place that made these people unbalanced to walk on, that I flattened out, and I took out vines that were making the ground uneven. If you keep going, you'll come to the back of the house that was just again overgrown, and the last photo is of a path that I cleared that I'm happy to say they have been able to find storage in the basement again. Then I don't want to take up too much more of your time, so if you would go up to the next section. This happened on October 16th, as it says, and the person that I helped with this house told me that they were planning on moving soon. They had a hard time over the pandemic. They said that everyone in the house had lost their job. The person who was a resident of the house that first contacted me had a hip replacement and was unable to do any of the work herself. So as you can see, everything's overgrown. She employed me to just mow everything. But I mowed the whole yard in 20 minutes, and seeing that there was other work to do, and I had cleared my Saturday morning, as I do every weekend, to do these jobs, I offered my assistance elsewhere. So if you go to the next photo, you'll see me removing cutting back the rhododendrons and removing a bush that they had hated for years but could never get rid of. And the next photo is the after photo of this lawn, which they said was a task that would take them upwards of 2 hours to complete by themselves. And so I was happy to help there, and I think that in helping, I saved everyone a lot of time, because doing so in the short while it took me to versus the time that they would have to use, which could be much better spent, I'm sure, is significant and meaningful to me. And this is why, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to start the Landscaping Angels. And then if you go to the next photo, you'll see an overgrown area that had about 3 inches of dirt, garbage, and weeds that was cutting down the path to the house significantly. And like I said, the resident of this house just had a hip replacement, was walking on a cane, and they said it was hard to get to the house because they just had to kind of balance on a tightrope through the area that they call a path. And so I graciously, and I'm really happy that I did, because I think it looks super cool. I took up all the dirt. So if you would go to the next photo, you'll see the dirt removed, and you can see a much wider path now. And if you look very closely in about the middle of the screen, of the middle of the picture, sorry, there is a stone that kind of looks to be missing. What had happened was there was a stone that had been dug up through water damage over the pandemic that created uneven ground for the resident to walk on and was a hazard. So I picked it up and moved it elsewhere, and they're going to put it to use somewhere else, hopefully. They said that they were going to try and see what they could do with it, or just throw it away. And thus I created a much easier path to the house. Moving on to the next photo, that had trash scattered all around the yard, but this was just the front of the house, which they said the trashman had a hard time accessing, and so I organized it all. If you go to the next photo, and overall, the resident said that everything was enhanced, and I remember them just walking outside and seeing the wow. It was just kind of open mouth, like somebody had just given them a big surprise, and made me feel so happy that they had reached out, and I was so grateful for them allowing me to help out, because I really enjoy the process that goes into this. I like seeing the change over time, and I also like seeing the impact that it makes on, especially reducing hazard for them and making their days a little bit easier, taking things off their mind. Like I was saying, they had all lost their jobs during the pandemic, and they were at health disadvantages, and so these few houses were just ones that really stood out to me. Obviously, I have more photos, and I can provide a link to the website if anyone should want to look at them. I also have more descriptions of these projects, and I just really appreciate you guys letting me come speak to you for a little bit, and I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I hope that I can continue and maybe share in the future. Thank you.
We really thank you.
Thank you.
you're a real model, and if we could clone you, the world would be a better place. But when you started this initiative in the summer, when we started talking about it, I thought this was almost an impossible task because people just don't want to do landscaping for seniors and elderly people, but you've really made life so much better for so many people, and again, we can't thank you enough. And again, you've changed lives for the better, and you do this as a volunteer. And again, I just hope that the community appreciates how lucky we are that you're still a senior in high school. And I hope when you maybe I'll write a letter to the principal at Edgemont High School saying that they shouldn't pass you, so this way you can work another year. But actually, I'm hopeful that you'll be able to set up the structure so next year we could continue this, and this could be a continuing effort that students get involved in.
I am looking for a successor at my school, and I'm hoping to choose one of the 44 volunteers I have. And I would like to add one more thing. Going into this, at the beginning, when I tried starting this, and 37 people signed up, and I had no volunteers, Mr. Feiner told me that he would be content if I did 1 or 2 houses. And I'm happy to say that I've now completed 9, and I'm going to break the double digits this weekend, moving to 11.
Awesome.
And so, thank you so much.
Jackson, this is just amazing because it represents a collaboration between you and Fabio, who was in one of the 34 interns in the Greenburgh Town Hall summer internship program, who actually collaborated with you on this idea and just on this initiative. So thank you so much, you and your team, for taking this idea of collaboration between you and Fabio and just developing it and running with it while he has had to go on to college.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
I wish he could have stayed for more than a week, but he had to go.
Yeah, but I'm just so excited and so enthralled over the idea. I just remember that day, summer day in August, when you were here meeting with Paul, and I brought you in here to meet the interns and introduced you to Fabio and his idea, and you both said to each other, you recognized each other from the same high school, and you said, let's go to work on this together. This is what community service, what leadership is all about. Collaboration, teamwork, and moving forward, setting goals, and moving forward to achieve those goals. Kudos to you, absolutely.
Thank
And
you.
what colleges are you going to be applying to?
That is still up in the air. And applications are due this weekend. I've written so many and looked at a computer screen for so many hours that I think I might have suffered some vision impairments. But I think that wherever I end up with, I have a list that I really like. And wherever I end up, I will be content. And I hope to continue doing things like this in college. Just happens to be, I just need to find a community need, and this happened to be this community's need.
And I hope you'll let me write a great letter of recommendation for you.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackson.
Thank you.